Hello, welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live, presented by MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. And whew, let me just wipe the sweat off my brow right now, man. The Eagles pull it out. They get to 4-0 with a win over those pesky Washington Commanders, 34-31 in overtime. But as they say, a win is a win. The Eagles remain undefeated. I'm Geoff Mosher alongside my Inside the Birds co-host Adam Caplan, and joining us all season long on the post game is former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. Guys, I'll be the first to admit AJ Brown comes alive, catches that touchdown. The Eagles go up in the fourth quarter, and I'm starting to write the script and this and that and this and that. And wow, man, Sam Howell, what a job he did bringing Washington back. So what a crazy game. But obviously the big thing for the Eagles is they persevere, they drive in overtime, they get a field goal from Jake Elliott, and they get the win. So let's start with sort of our big picture takeaway. Adam, I know you were up and down, walking around, trying to figure out how this game was going to go. Behind the scenes, we're all trying to start on time. We're trying to get everything together. I got Clay on the phone. All right, we're going to start. Nope, we're not starting. Never overtime. But what is your overall takeaway from this game?
Well, they persevered. You got to hang in there mentally. They get down early. They just could not do anything right. The timing was off in the passing game. Defensively, they gave up some passes. Washington was trying all they could not to run the football inside until they kind of saw what the deal was here. They knew coming in off tape, don't run inside, and they had a good game plan. And then Eagles were mentally tough. They hung in there. Hurts had an excellent game. He really did. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but he played very well. And overall, the better team won. They persevered. I give Washington all the credit in the world. Sam Howell was magnificent. Under pressure, under siege. And you know what I love? We'll describe more of this as we go along. Sean Asai seized the moment. He knew they were shorthanded. Sometimes you can't just back off. Sometimes you got to say, okay, you need to get off on third down. And he blitzed at the right times. I thought he did a good job. But overall, in the end, my opening thoughts here is that they found a way to win the game when it didn't look good.
Yeah, definitely. Clay, I couldn't wait to ask you this question because I couldn't wait to ask it of Jason Avant in our pregame show. Two guys who've played for the Eagles and know that, and by the way, this completely held true to form, what we said in the pregame show. I made the point that when I was a younger reporter and we would do the Sunday analysis for every game, for whatever reason, games against Washington, you could do all the analysis in the world. And then when the game kicks off and ends, it's like nothing you'd said in the pregame or in print, whatever, actually happened, because it's just the strangest rivalry. And today was an example of that. Do you remember as a player that games against Washington, just for whatever reason, were always mucky and kind of difficult?
Doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter when you're playing. Doesn't matter where you're playing. You're playing the Redskins, the Commanders now. Back in my day, the Redskins, it was always going to be a different type of game. You knew you could throw everything out the window. You don't know what's going to happen. You know this team well. You play against them twice a year. They're in your division. It's going to be a crazy game. Nothing's going to go right, and that's what happened today. But like you guys said, the Eagles persevered, and that's what my big picture takeaway was. This reminded me a little bit of last year. The last year, you have the penalty on Terrell Edmonds, when Sam Howell's making a run for the sidelines, which I thought was terrible. You have a 3rd and 17 conversion. You get to overtime. You're like, is this going to be like last season, the last game that Jalen Hurts lost in the regular season? But they came back. They held strong. And to me, it did feel like the Eagles were going to win this game. I don't know if even coming out in overtime, when the Commanders get to win the toss, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I still feel like the Eagles are going to win this football game, and they did. And I think that speaks to Jalen Hurts, the trust you have in him, the trust you have in that ground game, the trust you have in a guy like A.J. Brown just completely showing up today. I mean, 9 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns on 13 targets, just showing that they still have that connection. I know everybody's worried about where's the pass game. It was good to see that come out today.
Yeah, absolutely. My takeaway would be that it's when you beat a division opponent, no matter what, it's always a good win. If you go back to the Super Bowl team, 2017, they were clearly a better team than the Giants by the end of the year. But that one game where Jake Elliott had to beat them on a 61-yard field goal just illustrated how division games can always be a little bit different and challenge you. I would like to see the Eagles clean up a little bit of the penalties. I felt like there were some major penalties that even made this a game. Had they not happened, you go back to the Zach Cunningham defensive holding that helped set up a score for them. There was a couple of penalties on the offensive line. I just feel like in general, if they cleaned up the penalties, it wouldn't have even gotten this far. But I do have to tip my hat to Sam Howell. I thought he really hung in there, played an excellent game, took advantage of some Eagles secondary issues right now, which we'll get into. They're banged up and they're trying to get by with what they have. But good win for the Eagles. Any win's a good win, but perseverance, you're going to be tested along the way. And obviously this is one of those games. So, just that overall, I know that it makes you sweat and it's scary, right? But these are the type of games that probably make you better off in the long run. And if in 4 weeks, when these teams play again, if that game's anywhere near this game, it's going to be a pretty interesting division, right?
It matters, man.
Yeah.
When you win these close games and you just build that belief that you're going to win. It's just a belief in the players. When you get down, when you lose these games, for some reason there's that feeling that creeps in. Oh, here we go again. But when you're the team that pulls these out, when you consistently do that, like the Eagles have been able to, no matter what happens, the penalties. I mean, you got the tush push. They're calling offense offsides on the offense when Deron Payne's whole hands across the heads across the ball. It didn't matter. That really builds that team belief, and that matters, man. When games like this help in the long run, because you're not going to get through the season without them.
Well, yeah, Adam, Clay made a great point, right? I mean, you even said it. I don't think you felt at any point they were going to lose the game, right. And I think that just stems from the confidence that even as an observer, right? You just see the Eagles pull these games out and win and move the ball when they need to. And I also agree. I didn't think they were going to lose.
I agree. I want to ask Clay something. So as a former player, depending on who you were with, when things weren't going well, let's say whoever you were with choked a game, you had a big lead or you choked, or particularly in this game, you're down big, 17-7, you can't do anything right. Then you come back and win. Do you start like right when you're coming off the field, like you just said, do you start feeling like, you know what, now I know we can win any game? Like, hey, coming off the field, what's your feeling like? Bring us back to when you were a player.
Yeah. So
like, what's that feeling like?
Yeah. So like I'm with I'm with the Jaguars, like we're 4 years, we have 12 wins in that span or 3 years. And it was just the feeling. We would start off hot so many games and it was the same thing over and over again. An interception, a bad penalty, a bad call, something happens and it's like this feeling comes within the team. Here we go again. The next thing you know, it spirals. We end up losing. It's a feeling. The next year I go to the New England Patriots. I remember sitting in the locker room with James Devlin, and this is when Tom Brady was out with Deflategate. And we end up going 3-1 during that period with Jacoby Brissett. Jimmy Garoppolo won the first game. Then Jacoby Brissett comes in, has to play 3 games. And me and Jimmy are like, we called James Devlin Jimmy too, but James Devlin, we're sitting there, I'm like, he's like, dude, like how do we keep winning these games? It's like, bro, it's just coaches, man. It's coaching. I think we were just gonna win. It was just a feeling. We knew we were gonna win. And when a team believes that, and then the next year I'm with the Lions. I think we had tied like an NFL record for the most fourth quarter comeback with Matt Stafford.
Wow.
We ended up making the playoffs. We lost the first round to Seattle. But when you have that belief, we knew in Detroit, we're down going into the fourth by 10. We're like, okay, you didn't have to say anything, but you knew we were going to come back because it's something you'd done before and you'd experienced it. And it's funny because with Jacksonville, it was the complete opposite. Right. You could have to say, it matters when you as a team can pull out these tough games, overtime games, slugfest that go all the way to the wire. Because the next time this happens, okay, you remember that Washington game. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to come out on top.
Yeah. And by the way, congratulations to you for being on one of those Lions teams in the last 15 years that actually felt confident going into the fourth quarter that you're speaking of, because there haven't been many. So great job by you. All right, let's break this game down. We'll get into the offense and the defense. First, I want to tell everybody that you can make your money work smarter, not harder, with MyBookie. Celebrate your winning season with MyBookie's biggest offer to date, and that is up to $200 cash bonus on your first deposit. Did you hear me right? That's up to $200 cash bonus on your first deposit. That's before you even place a bet by making a deposit with MyBookie. All you have to do is go to mybookie.ag and use our promo code THEBIRDS. It's all caps THEBIRDS to claim this bonus. That's mybookie.ag with the promo code THEBIRDS in all caps, one word. And make sure you act quick because the offer is only available this week and you can only get it with that promo code THEBIRDS, all caps, one word. With a full slate of NFL and college football, there are plenty of options to bet and win. So don't be the guy who missed out. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere, only with my bookie. All right, so this Eagles offense, welcome back aerial attack. Welcome back passing game. I thought we'll talk about in general overall. I think Jalen Hurts had probably his best passing game. Still some things that we can clean up, but certainly was in rhythm with AJ Brown. That big touchdown that it almost felt like AJ Brown is also back with yards after the catch, the touchdown that put him ahead. And then the ironic thing, guys, is, and I'll start with you, Adam, in overtime, it was much less of that and more of your grinded out style. I think they only had one third down convert, a 3rd and 2 that they had to convert, or a 3rd and 3, which they got the 2-yard pass to Devontae and then picked up the sneak to get it. But, they did what they had to do methodically there in overtime to get to the field goal. But in general, you saw the aerial attack return today. How important do you think that was?
Oh, to get Hurts' confidence back, because we had, for those of you who missed it, who are not with us on Patreon, John T. Filippo, the former Eagles quarterbacks coach, who really broke down Hurts' issues last game against Tampa, and just saw he just needs to cut it loose a little bit, be more aggressive. He must have taken the cue because he was super aggressive today, and also the protection was great. Cam Jurgens, by the way, went down with that foot injury. He was not cleared to return. In fact, they downgraded from questionable to out, so that's always a concern with a foot injury. But overall, protection was pretty good. He made some great throws. The timing was back between him and A.J. Brown, as we talked about in the pregame. I brought it up. They're going to go after Emmanuel Forbes when he's on the field. He wasn't just playing nickel. He was out there a lot. They obviously tried to match the Eagles up. Forbes against A.J. Brown, when they were matched up, Brown won more than he lost. And they saw a matchup they could win. And I think overall, Jeff, you got to feel pretty good. They put up 31 against a decent defense. And they got their mojo back downfield. They needed to get that, Jeff, because that was a huge part of last year's offense.
Oh, 100%. I definitely thought so. And to your point, there was some major egg bowl crime going on there with Mississippi State AJ Brown versus Ole Miss Emmanuel Forbes. There was a lot of abuse, some taunting. The guy got thrown in there, no doubt.
Had a penalty, a penalty.
Yeah. But you know what? The biggest play I thought of the game, really, when you look back on it, Clay, 3rd and 8. This is on the drive that sets up the touchdown, the second touchdown to AJ Brown, the 28-yarder. He only caught one pass today, but the 3rd and 8 throw to Olamide Zaccheaus.
Oh yeah,
between two defenders. Do you remember that play? What happened? Can you describe what you thought about that whole scenario?
Yeah, it was like a middle sit, right? So he just runs a route right over the ball at 10 yards, make sure you get past the sticks, and wasn't much space in there. There wasn't much space, and you see Hurts, look off. He's not looking, and he turns and fires. And man, that was, it was like a closing elevator door, and the ball just gets through right as the door closes. Man, it was incredible throw by Hurts, good catch by Zaccheaus, and for his only catch of the game, that was a heck of a time to do it, man. The other thing that I want to see, man, is obviously it's good to see AJ get going. It's good to see Devontae get going. But get my tight end the ball, man. I know you couldn't, you can't help it some days, but he's got like 60 yards on the season. Dallas Goedert, I picked him to be one of the best tight ends in the league this year. I know I'm not doing it just because myself, but you want this guy to be a part of your, a part of your pass game. I think you got to scheme some stuff to get him open, man. Get him a couple screens, a stick route, get him involved early. And then I know he had 2 big catches today, but you got to have more than 60 yards for Dallas Goedert in the 4th game of the season. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Do you think it's impacting him, by the way? Because, talk about the Zaccheaus middle sit play, right? That we just talked about in 3rd and 8. There was one earlier in the game to Goddard that may have been a little high, but he could have got his hands on it. And it just seemed like, and then there was another play against the blitz, I think, where Jalen threw it to him, but he hadn't. It's almost like he wasn't looking for it against the blitz, which was kind of surprising. It just seems like they are not in sync right now.
Yeah, they're definitely not in sync. And yeah, it's interesting because looking at those plays, yeah, maybe he could have got that ball and then he's got if it's a blitz, you got to get your eyes around faster. So I'm curious to see the all 22 when it comes out and see if there's any plays there. But it's so crazy to see Goddard having such a down year statistically. And then you had the play at the end of the game when he was blocking, but he let him go. Maybe he thought that they were going to hand it off to Swift. Jalen pulls it. He's kind of standing there. So there's been some weird stuff with Goddard, but you're going to need this guy down the stretch, and he's a big part of this offense. So I do want to see him get more involved.
Was it surprising to you if I tell you that even though the Eagles scored 34 points and improved to 4-0, they were 4 of 12 on third down.
Fourth down,
and
no.
This is the second. Fourth down they've been good, pretty good, but third down was an area they were good last year. But if you go to the third down in red zone, even last week against Tampa, for whatever reason, just not in that rhythm that they used to be in.
Look, their offense is really good today, but it's not to the level of last year. There's some timing issues, and Clay brought it up. This is where, against this defense that they saw, zone busters, over the middle, that's got to be your tight end. That's got to be Goddard. They got to get him the football. Now, Pete Filippo told us on his tape breakdown that John said that there were passes last week that Goddard should have gotten the football, and Hurts just missed him. I mean, that happens.
Right.
So they got to, Clay's right. They got to get him the football. That to me is the missing link for getting this offense to be where it was last year.
Yeah. Were you surprised on the 3rd and 11 run by Gainwell? I think he wound up fumbling, right? And Lane Johnson pounced on it. So I guess that they were just basically trying to set up a field goal there. Not as aggressive as we've seen the Eagles be. I'm pretty sure they were up 21-17 at the time. So it's not like the game was. Well, yeah, it did, because then Elliott kicked the field goal to go up 24-17. So were you surprised by that?
I think no, I wasn't surprised by that. They just want to get a couple more yards, kick the field goal. You're up 21-17, get that touchdown lead. So it made sense. Kind of a dangerous play there, though. Man, we're lucky that ball bounced and Lane was able to recover that, because that's another game-changing play right there. I know a lot of them didn't go the Eagles' way, but typically you see Sirianni likes to be aggressive there, but I think he made the right call. Get the points in that situation.
Right. So, Clay, the Eagles have 3.9 yards per carry. They did run for 104 yards, which is, for them, that's sort of modest, especially lately. DeAndre Swift, 56 yards, average, 4.0 a carry. Gainwell had a couple carries, 3.5. Is there anything you thought Washington was doing schematically to try to slow down the Eagles' run train?
I thought they had a plan for the zone read plays, and they weren't going to get beat by Hurts on a zone read. They had a nice plan, and making sure they take away the quarterback, and that's a play you can take away, and it's hard because you obviously have to allocate a defender for the quarterback, so you're losing a guy. And instead of a straight handoff, you don't have to allocate it. Now you do because of the zone read. But I thought they had a nice plan with the linebackers taking out the quarterback in the zone read play. What we've seen in previous weeks was that opened up a lot of holes. It seemed like defenses have been out of position in the run game because they are allocating for that. And you got the RPO game, run play action, in which they know if the Eagles have numbers outside, they're going to throw the ball out there. So they have to make sure that they got guys in the right position. But I thought in the run game, the Commanders came up with a good plan to have a hat on a hat and still be able to put enough players in the box to, not get completely ran on like the teams of the past few games have.
Yeah, I also thought maybe Jack Del Rio didn't overthink it too much. We talked about last week with some of the things that the Buccaneers did, and even 2 weeks ago, Flores with the light boxes and everything. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, they have good run stop. They have good run stopping defensive ends. I thought that their personnel did a good job of being disciplined, not giving the Eagles those easy wide lanes to run through. It's like Adams, the first time DeAndre Swift sort of had to work for his yards, which, by the way, he did well of. And that catch, was it in overtime where the little catch and he cuts it around the right edge? Those are those little things that DeAndre Swift is bringing to this offense.
Yeah, the play late and I said that Gainwell can't do that. That's one of the many differences between the two. Gainwell did have some good plays today, but Swift is special. His ability to get around and make unblocked defenders miss, and his acceleration is phenomenal. I mean, he just adds another dimension to this offense. But overall, the good thing is, you mentioned how the run game is somewhat controlled today. Even when they did it, the passing game took off today. Hurts threw for over 300, several big plays. Yes, the tight end needs to get involved. That's the missing link. but the protection for the most part was really, really good. And that's the other part of this. Like they you worry about it because Washington with that front, can they get there? And overall, I thought the Eagles offensive line did a very good job.
Yeah, I did too. And we'll finish off the offense with this because I was at the Hard Rock Cafe today doing their watch party for the Eagles game. And the fans were a little upset there especially after the last 2 weeks, that the Eagles came out throwing. I kind of had to remind them that as the season goes on and as they're trying to work this passing game, this is who the Eagles want to be. They wanted the Eagles to just run. And I let them know, listen, when the Eagles have to run, they will. And if they have to put it all in the run game, they will. But Clay, they came out with a plan clearly to push the ball against this Washington secondary, guys like Forbes, right? Take advantage of some youth there. And for the most part, I thought you started to see some semblance of last year's passing attack.
Absolutely, and that's something they've obviously saw in film, somewhere they could attack. I mean, you look at you look at the game against the Bills and what they were able to do there and move the ball. So I think that was definitely something they looked at. Just going back to when I was playing, we'd have game plans to where it seemed like we were giving Shady the ball. Shady had every snap, every route, every play was a Shady. Then there was games Deshaun. It's like, Deshaun and Jeremy are going to eat this game because we can tell that these safeties, these cornerbacks can't run with J Mac and Deshaun Jackson. So it's something you see, it's like, hey, they came out throwing because they were confident that their receivers could beat them. And you have to do that sometimes. Your running game is not always going to be able to take over the game for you on offense. Sometimes you're going to have to say, hey, they're weak in the defensive backfield and our receivers are better than them, especially when you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You have to. I know running the ball has been smooth. It's been great. DeAndre Swift, 130, 170 back-to-back weeks. But if you think you have an advantage in the defensive backfield, why'd you pay, Jalen Hurts $100 million? Why are you paying him this money to hand the ball off? No, if you see that your defensive backs, they can't contain your receivers to get them the ball and to throw them the ball. That's why you're paying them all that money. Attack them.
What happened?
Yes, absolutely. Are we all right?
Good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thought I heard something in the ear.
Yeah,
all right. We're going to go past, we're going to wrap up the Eagles offense there, get into the defense in a second. First, now last week was brutal for the Survivor contest. All those big teams lost, paging Dallas Cowboys. But the Ultimate Revival Survivor contest is live on Splash Sports. Splash Sports is the #1 place to get back into the contest. So starting October 8th, Splash Sports will have its 6-figure Revival Survivor contest going live. So head to the link in the description box, sports.com/InsideTheBirds, and make sure to enter. Contest begins October 8th for the quest to win 6 figures. That's splashsports.com/InsideTheBirds. All right, so let's transition here to the Eagles defense. And nobody really likes this, but I do think you have to credit Sam Howell for making life really difficult for the Eagles defense. I think if we go back and look at all the third down conversions, most of them were from Sam Howell making a second reaction play through the air, moving around, getting the Eagles zone, shifting left and right, and then him making some really nice throws. And I know people don't want to hear that, but Adam, I mean, I thought the kid made some really good plays that I don't want to call them indefensible, but I mean, it's hard. Second reaction plays are hard to defend.
Or when he just moved a little bit to the right, because he saw the rush coming, he stood in there. And by the way, he got hit 9 times, sacked 5 times. Yet they scored 31 points. I mean, that was he was tough, man. It's like it was kind of like a 15-round fight. He got bruised and battered, but somehow he got it to 15 rounds. He wound up losing, but he just hung in there. I got to give him credit. And I like the aggressiveness. Boy, the energy that this D-line had, and I think it obviously helps that they rotate so much. But the story was Nick Morrow. My goodness gracious, is it a blitzer? Is it a late blitzer or a green dog? My goodness gracious. I mean, he had 3 sacks. Nick Morrow, 3 sacks.
Nick Morrow, yeah. A couple of them unabated, but still, that just shows you. And I think the Eagle fan, Clay, can be happy with this because Jonathan Gannon took so much flack, no matter win or loss, because he didn't blitz enough. He didn't dial enough pressure. I bet if you go look at the numbers it shows that Sean Desai, in fact, I have looked at him. He's not blitzing that much either, but he certainly, I think, picked good spots today that worked when he was going to be more aggressive.
No, yeah, you like the defenders like that. The linebackers love an opportunity to blitz and get a sack here and there. But you see how much money the Eagles put in that offensive line. You got those big boys up front, and why do you do that? So you don't have to blitz. You can have more guys in coverage, and you can still get the pressure. And me and Cassell talking on watching the tape. Hassan Reddick ain't look like Hassan Reddick. It was good to see him get a sack. And I want to see the all 22, but he was getting handled most of the game again. To me, I mean, obviously get the cast off. And he did get the one sack, but they're going to need him to step it up. I thought Josh Sweat got some critical pressure on a couple of times there, but I wanted to see a little more from him as well in the pass rush game, and I thought that the Commanders did a decent job against the interior rush. They weren't being really overmatched as much. Yeah, Fletch had a couple nice plays. Jalen Carter did have some nice plays, but overall, I thought that would be a huge mismatch for the Birds, and I thought the Commanders did a great job of handling that. To talk about Sam Howell, love the kid's competitiveness. It's a quarterback I'd like to play with. He's a guy, and you see him in the run game too. He's not easy to bring down. He's quick. He's not. He's not Michael Vick. But he can move. Like Sam Howell's a guy that can move, and I thought, my hat's off to him. He did a nice job today, and really put them in a position where they could win the game against a typically good defense.
Yeah, how would you, Clay, describe Eric Bieniemy's game plan going into this game? How did it look different than what we've seen so far?
I feel like he did try to run the ball. But
sure.
He tried to stick with it. And Robinson last week had like 10 carries for 75 yards, averaging almost 7-8 yards a carry. And that's something that I think they really wanted to make a point. We're going to get Brian Robinson a lot of carries, and we're going to stick with it this game because we know how tough that defense is. And I think he did a good job of that, but he also got put in some situations where he had to throw the ball, and you saw he did take advantage of with McLaurin having a great game there, making some big plays, and Sam Howell throwing the ball 41 times. So he did a nice job of mixing it up, ran the ball a little bit, pretty balanced how he attacked the Eagles. And I'll say it again, obviously you want to see the all 22 before you really see exactly what he was doing, but I think he showed confidence in his team. That he ran what he wanted to run. He wasn't staying away from one thing in particular and really afraid of this defense. So, hats off to him as well. He put up some pretty good numbers today.
Yeah, Adam, to Clay's point, I suspect, and I don't know if Sean Desai will come out and say it, but I suspect two things. One, I feel like he might have sent some of those blitzes, those linebacker blitzes. We saw them early, even in the game. He had that a sack on a double mug blitz, right? Where he put the two linebackers in the A gaps and send them out. I suspect that was not just schematic for the Commanders, but we talked about the secondary, the state of the secondary going into the game. They only had 3 safeties, 2 of which had actually played in the NFL before. They were very short there. Corner, they're asking James Bradbury to go inside. I think he might have felt like I need to help my secondary a little bit more than normal.
I would agree. It was interesting. The Washington game plan on the run game was outside zone and misdirection. They were like, okay, we've seen the tape. We saw the 3 games. We're not going to be able to run inside. Very few runs inside and some inside handoffs. They tried everything they could. And if you heard what Greg Cosell talked about in our pregame show, he thought they'd had some gadget plays, try to do something, not to run in the middle, get these guys out of rhythm on the defensive line. And they had some good plays. I give them credit. They definitely did some good things. They hung in there. But I also give the Eagles credit that despite some plays that they gave up, probably maddening in the first half, they hung in there mentally. They were down 17-7. And then somehow they came back and took the lead. That was pretty impressive. I would agree, and I agree with your assessment earlier. I never felt they were going to lose it. Now, if Washington would have went up 24-7, I would have probably punted on that. But I felt like, all right, don't give up any more points. You'll be okay. And mentally, they hung in there.
I can only imagine what was going through some of the guys' minds when the Washington goes up 7-0 on a Curtis Samuel touchdown from motion, which probably brought back some haunting memories from the Super Bowl where they give up 2 touchdowns because of motion. And guess what? Who was the offensive or who was on Andy Reid's staff for that game, right? Eric Bieniemy, who now comes over to Washington. I thought, and again, I'm curious to see the all 22, but I thought Washington used a lot more motion today than the Eagles have probably seen the last few weeks from the offenses they've been going against.
No, yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, there's a lot of things that motions do. And I think we saw some switch releases in there too. It mixes up defenders and it gives tells. Obviously, everybody knows, what do you run motion for? First off, you're gonna be able to tell it's man or zone, right? Who goes where, but the second part is, if you got a young defense, or the Eagles aren't, necessarily a young defense, you got some young linebackers, some not young, but guys that have been playing together for long. And you do have some, some mix up there, and that's going to happen. But it crosses up the defense. You have to know your plays you have to know what you're doing on the fly, and then cross releases, switch releases. You saw some of that today. Your rules change. Okay, you see a helmet taps like, hey, I'm going to take the inside guy, you take the outside guy. I'm going to take the first guy. If whoever goes inside, whoever goes outside, you have to know your rules, and that crosses up the defense in a lot of different ways. And also, man and zone tells. With Tom Brady playing with the New England Patriots, there was never a play. You go back and watch Tom with the Patriots, never a play. There wasn't a shift or a motion. Tom wanted to know. He puts James White out at the receiver position. If it's a cornerback, if it's a line, you can tell if it's man or zone. He brings him back in. It's going to tell you what the defense is in. Bieniemy is really good at that, and it's hard to stop.
Clay, what was your assessment of the last 10 seconds, 30 seconds of regulation? Now Sam Howell made a really nice 3rd and 17 throw to Byron Pringle.
3rd and 17 to Byron Pringle, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
How does that happen?
Well, it's tough because you know they got to score a touchdown, right? So you got to play soft as a defense, but it's give and take, man. You got to play soft, and that gives them some holes. You just want to play soft and hope that they can't score the touchdown and really get in the end zone at the end of the game. It's like right. You're not playing to make a play. You're playing not to mess up. And I've always hated that. And I know defensive players, they don't like playing like that. 9 out of 10 of the guys are going to say, let's keep doing our stuff. But obviously the coaches are thinking, hey, we're up by 7 points here. They have to score a touchdown. Let's play it soft. Just keep everything in front of us and just hope they can't convert and get it in the end zone. Unfortunately, they did. Heck of a play on 3rd and 17. Heck of a play at the end of the game there to get in the end zone.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, though. We talk about speeding them up. I think Adam would totally agree with me on this because we know, we've studied a lot of guys. Jim Johnson, not to bring everything back to Jim Johnson, but when that offense, right, has only 2 seconds to make a play, he covers and it's in the end zone, either backed up or in his own end zone, right, in the red zone. Jim Johnson is cover zeroing there every single time. He's daring the quarterback to try to make a play with 2 seconds because on that play, the game-tying touchdown, he had enough time to look back and like you mentioned, it was a zone, and obviously it was kind of an easy comeback. I don't know what you would call that route that Dodson caught, but he caught it. But there was no speeding up of the quarterback on that, right? Jim, that to me, that's where it separates kind of the good from the. Jim would have no fear about sending everybody on there.
I like that. I like the blitz. I like the zero blitz there. I mean, it just and in those situations, it's gonna be a coin flip. He's gonna have to get the ball up, and you got great defensive backs. I mean, you got Slay and Bradbury for a reason. They're gonna be able to stay with their man, and you zero blitz there, a young quarterback, and don't give an opportunity. I would have liked to see that, a blitz, make him hurry. Don't sit back and let the young guy kind of pick and find a soft spot in the zone and see where he wants to go. Yeah, make him make a quick decision. He's young. He doesn't know exactly where to go as soon as the blitz comes. So I agree with you there. Let's send some pressure in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, there wouldn't have been time for a comeback type play. I mean, maybe he gets a quick fade but you have to be so perfect in that situation. Then you have to throw the ball. The receiver has to catch it on the money. I just felt like that was an opportunity that was
extremely hard.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. We'll talk a little bit about special teams and some injuries that we definitely have to talk about. First, I want to remind everybody, please check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation. Let's also pause to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, if you happen to stop in to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You'll get a great deal back here on Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and of course, former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. We're going to wrap this up now. Adam, this punting situation, man. Hey, the operation on the field goal has been good, but the line drive punts is not what the Eagles are looking for.
Yeah, he did have one really good punt, but
He did.
one was so short. You can't have that. It didn't work out a punter. They worked out one player this week. It was a punter. So who's not been with the team before. So we'll keep an eye on it. And they've got one elevation left. And the plan is and was to sign him to a contract after 3 weeks. But man, unless he improves, that's no given right now.
Yeah, I badly want to do an Allen Iverson right now. Be like, we working out punters, not slot corners, not safeties. Punters, we working out punters, but it's true. Like they are working out punters, Adam, but not any slot corners or safeties, which is another area that they need to get healthy at really quickly.
They do. They need a nickel corner in the worst way. They need a veterans. They need two veterans. A slot corner. Bryce Callahan's out there, who's played in the scheme before with Chicago and the Chargers.
Chris Harris
played with Fangio. Yep, he's out there. There's some veteran safeties on the street. Did you see? Remember when Corey Graham came in here? Did he play a lot in 17?
Oh, sure, he did, because they played a lot of big nickel that year. So he wound up being the third safety.
Yep. Someone like that. Some veteran safety who's got maybe 1 year left in him. Tim Houck, is he available? No, I'm just kidding. Old timers, but somebody like that.
Yeah. Clay, obviously, we saw the left guard, not the right guard situation. Cam Jurgens, who played a really nice game against the Bucs last week. I know you and Greg Cosell, broke it down on Inside the Tape, and I look forward to the next one this week. But he came out and never came back. Sua Opeta went in, but this is one of those situations where you hope it's a foot injury for a lineman. You just hope it's not that bad.
Yeah, you hope it's not that bad, and he we'll see more. And Jurgens has been playing well. You haven't been hearing much from Jurgens, and that's a good thing. He fit right in. He's been one of the guys we've been really impressed with in that offensive line, and one of the reasons the Eagles have been able to run the ball the way they have. And I think Opeta had a nice game. And obviously, like you said, you got to want to see the film and see exactly how he was doing over there. But Jurgens, it'd be a big loss if he's out, because he's been playing well. He's holding his own. He's not getting dominated. He's really fitting in with this offensive line. So, I mean, that's something to watch for sure, to see if he'll come back, see if he's able to play in practice, and then if he is out, how long. You definitely want to be able to get him back before the schedule starts getting, real tough.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll see. Obviously, we'll have more information on that in the coming days. I will say, Sua Opeta did a nice job, at least to the naked eye. We'll check the all 22. But Adam Opeta used to be a guy who could only play. When he first got to the Eagles, he could only play, I believe, the left side, left guard. And I remember, coming out of camp, he was looking good. And we were told that he was one of the most improved players all around in all of camp on offense or defense. So another good story of development for Jeff Stoutland and the Eagles. If he has to play a game, who knows what it is, but if he has to play for a little bit, it doesn't feel like panic settles in. And they also still have Driscoll and Tyler Steen as well.
Correct. And then Driscoll becomes the top backup lineman, and that's just what they'll have to do. Because he could play multiple positions, and it's good to have him. And Sua Opeta has been a great story of development from an undrafted free agent. Anytime an undrafted free agent makes your roster, that's a heck of a job of scouting. The fact that now it's taken him a while though, but now that he solidified himself as the top backup guard, it was a pretty good story, because I remember our reporting, we'd heard pretty strongly that he could really only play one side. They don't know if he could get to the other side, and now he's showing he could play both. That's big. So they're in okay shape, but Jurgens, it's such a shame, because even John said on Patreon, that he wrote down 51 on the Eagles was terrific in this last game against Tampa.
Yeah, that is too bad. One last injury to ask you about. I mean, Darius Slay left, came back in, but Clay, I just wanted to ask you if you could associate with that, or if you've ever seen that kind of, the neck shoulder area, you get banged up, you leave. It looked like they were stretching him out. He was able to get back in. Funny, because in that one snap that he left, Howell took a deep shot on whoever it was that was in there for him, and then Slay was right back in the game. But have you had a lot of those throughout your career where it goes from like kind of the shoulder down the arm?
Oh yeah, it's a stinger, and then you'll feel it. It just kind of like radiates down your arm, and it's scary because you don't know what the heck is going on. You're feeling it's like heat, like needles. It's pretty crazy feeling that just radiates down your shoulder when you hit it the wrong way, but it goes away pretty fast. So it's just something that's scary because you don't know what the heck's going on. But then after a couple minutes, it dissipates, and you're able to go back in there and play. You make sure your limb's still attached. You're just like, okay, I'm good. I think that was just a stinger, man. And then you go back in there and you're fine. But it is scary right when it happens. If you see guys that go out for like a play, you're like, look really hurt. Sometimes you like, you don't know what the heck's going on. Then you wait a couple minutes. You're like, okay, I'm good. And you're ready to go back in. So that's typically what happens.
Right. And if there's ever a little bumper bruise that is worth it for the sake of a win, I don't know what Reed Blankenship's arm looks like right now after McLaurin kind of stepped on it, which forced him to go out of bounds, right? In overtime there. But I'm sure Reed Blankenship might be hurting on the arm, but feeling really good inside because that may have saved the game for the Eagles right there. Have you ever seen that happen, by the way?
I don't think so, man. That was crazy. And that play was so close. I mean, you can't get any closer. I feel like if they called that the other way, they're not going to be able to overturn it. It's close. You don't know which way. You have to go with what was called on the field.
100%. Definitely. And that was another Adam. That was a good throw by Sam Howell. I mean, you saw all the pressure in his face. That kid came of age in this game. I got to give him his credit.
Drops right, throws left. That's a tough throw, and that's a timing throw. This is a phenomenal throw. Yeah, he's got a good arm for a guy that's barely 6 feet. He's like between 6 and 6'1", and he was a gunslinger. That's the way he was in North Carolina.
Yeah,
had a tough senior season, but they were spreading the ball around it. I give Washington credit, man. They played hard. They played the Eagles tough, as he said to us off the air. This is another Eagles-Washington game, which you come in thinking, well, Washington's got a bad line. They got blown out.
Right.
They were so mentally tough. Clay, I do wonder one more thing here. As a former player, would you get absolutely embarrassed? Like they got blown out in the fourth quarter against Buffalo. As a player, do you come back the next week and are you pissed off? Like, what's that feeling like?
I wouldn't say you're pissed off, but you're practicing in a different way. You're taking it very serious, and you always take it serious, but it's just like another level up. You go, okay, this is what happened last week. We got to come back and we got to have a better day today. It's a little bit more tense at practice. You're a little bit more focused. You're staying after practice. You're getting a couple more catches. You're making sure everything every coverage you blew, every missed tackle, everything, you're getting that fixed. That's the first thing you come in the film room. And that's why sometimes as a coach, you're like, okay, we're going to attack them just the way they got attacked last week. We get all these great plays. You come out and they're not running the same defense. They're not running the same coverage. They're going to fit. The first thing they do back when they get in the film room is fix the holes that they had the week before. And that's what happens. And obviously, I spent some time with the Jaguars. We had a lot of holes the week before. So it's kind of like trying to fill holes in a sinking ship sometime. But this team is good enough to where if you fix a couple things, they can stay in close games with good teams. So you're going to see them, I think, continue to get better. And I think they're one of the better teams in the East. At least I think I'd take them over the Giants right now. And I think they're going to give a Cowboys run for their money too.
I tell you, Clay, you could write a book. You've played for two of the greatest franchises over the last 15 years with the Eagles and the Patriots, and two of the worst franchises the last 15 years, the Lions and the Jaguars. So there's got to be a book in there somewhere with your experiences on both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, and then we'll throw in some bachelorette stuff in there. I know you guys don't watch that, but we'll put that in there too, guys.
There'll be a chapter on that for sure, no doubt about it. All right, the good thing is these two teams are going to meet up again in just 4 weeks, so it should be another exciting pregame show and postgame show for us. We'll be back next week, though. The Eagles back in the afternoon, 4:00 game against the LA Rams. Our pregame show, I still think, as of now, we will expect it to be 10 a.m. start. And postgame, well, we're going to do it directly after the end of the game. Again, it'll be Adam, myself, and Clay Harbor. So want to thank everybody for watching and appreciate our friends at Splash Sports, My Bookie, PHL Sports Nation, Sky Motor Cars, James and Zach, our producers, everybody did a great job. And always, we thank you for watching Inside the Birds post-game live. For Adam Caplan and Clay Harbor, I'm Geoff Mosher. Catch you next week.